Did you know that your ideas like song, logo or even a recipe, they can be protected just like your land or your house? That is what we call intellectual property. Today I am going to tell you what is intellectual property and what are intellectual property laws through a very simple story that will stick around with you forever. So by the end of this video, I promise you that you'll see intellectual property in a completely new way and you'll understand what is intellectual property, what are the categories in intellectual property. Hi UVs, welcome back to my channel, The Nomad Strategist. And if you're new here and you haven't watched my intro video, first of all, go and watch that intro video. But in case you do not want to watch that video, let me tell you that this is the place where I break down IP laws and real life concept into very simple language that even layman can understand. Today, I'm going to talk about intellectual property and the categories of intellectual property. But I've got a lot of material to break down. So hit the subscribe button right away. First things first, what does intellectual property even mean? Intellectual property, as you can clearly understand, is made up of two words. First is intellectual and second is property. Intellectual comes from the Latin word intellectus, meaning understanding or the mind. Property is something that you can own and legally protect. Together, intellectual property means ownership of creation of mind. But why do we need intellectual property laws? Did not think so? Stick around. I'm going to explain through a very simple story now. So once upon a time, there were 7 brothers. Australia, Europe, Antarctica, Asia, Africa, South America and North America. They divided the world among themselves. They were living very peacefully with the land that they got. Brutus comes in. Brutus, being the 8th brother, he did not have any land. So what he does is he goes to Australia and acquires some of its land. Australia goes to the other 6 brothers and tells them that Brutus has acquired my land and I need it back. The 6 brothers ask him that how can you prove that it's your land and not Brutus, because we would need some proof to fight him off. So Australia did not have any proof and Brutus acquired that land. Brutus was very clever. He understood that this is a good way to acquire land of all 6 brothers. He goes to all 6 brothers one by one and acquire their land. Ultimately, Brutus eventually had more land than the 7 brothers. So 7 brothers one day sat together and decided that there should be a boundary, there should be rules about what land belongs to whom and how it is transferred from one person to other person. There should in fact be a list of all the previous owners and what were the compensation paid for this transfer. So this is how they developed property laws. Simple enough. Property laws we have understood. It's very simple. But why am I explaining property laws? So see, this is the foundation of intellectual property laws. And now let's understand why actually we needed intellectual property law. What is the importance of intellectual property laws? A few years later, what happens is Australia develops a car. He makes a car and that car had a very unique name, ABC. Everybody knew that ABC means Australian car. That car was 4-cylinder coupe and it had a very good sound, a unique sound when it turned on. And Australia also fitted ADAS system at that point of time, and this car was powered by a Australian fuel that was only found in Australia. So Australia does all of its R&D and realize that this is huge, this car is very good. So he goes to all 6 brothers and sells it off to all 6 of them for 1 lakh apiece. The 6th brother realized that this is a very good car and orders Australia to manufacture more and probably be buying a lot more next year. Brutus comes to know about this. He also purchases one of those cars. But he was intelligent, he was technical. What he does is he reverse engineers that car and makes an exactly same car for less price and imports fuel from Asia, the same fuel. And then he goes to all 6 brothers and sells it off to them for 50,000 apiece. Australia comes to know about this and Australia goes to all 6 brothers and tell them that last time I listened to you guys, but understand, last time it was a piece of land, This is my whole life's hard work. This is something that I gave years, and a lot of people were involved in making this. And you have no idea that within 1 year, by the sale of these cars, I can purchase 50 of those lands. So this is far more valuable than that piece of land, and I'm not going to give it up so easily. The six brothers understood that what Australia was saying was correct and requested Australia to suggest how this can be protected. Australia told them that let's divide this protection into 6 categories. First one, the unique name of my car, the unique name that represents my brand, that is ABC, let's call it trademark. And the 4-cylinder engine, for which a lot of my people did R&D for years, and it was a great invention and it had a high utility, let's call it utility patents. The unique design of my car, the coupe design, let's call it design. And the unique sound that my car produces, I don't want it to be copied. I want rights against anybody copying it. Let's call it copyrights. Then the ADAS system, look, first of all, Brutus has not been able to make that ADAS system. And since he has not been able to make it that ADAS system, I don't think so people will be able to make it in the next 5 years also. So I want to keep it a secret with me. It's my trade secret. Let's call it a trade secret. Then he is importing fuel from Asia. That's not Australian fuel. Australian fuel is the one that belongs to Australia, that represents the geography, that gives an indication of the geography that it belongs to. So let's call that geographical indication. So this is how the 6 categories of intellectual property were formed. Now, since you have understood what is intellectual property, why do we need intellectual property laws, and what are the 6 categories of intellectual property, now answer me a one very easy and quick question. Can a cooking recipe be protected through IP? And if yes, through which category of IP? Do drop your answers in the comment box. I'll surely reply. And if you like this layman friendly breakdown of intellectual property laws, and the categories of intellectual property, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends who are curious about law. And also let me know whether you like this layman friendly breakdown, or do you want me to be a little more technical. Until next time, this is Nomad Strategist. Bye bye.